Is it true that Isa al-Masih is the sign to mankind in the Quran?
Yes, in Surah 19:21, Yeswa is called Ayatul Linnas, which means sign to mankind.
What does this title mean?
The word ayat has two meanings. It could mean verse from Allah or miracle of Allah. In the Quran, Yeswa was sent only to the children of Israel, Surah 61:6.
This is not correct. Ayatul Linnas in Surah 19:21 means sign to mankind. The word nas refers to mankind as a whole, not man or mortal, which would be Bashar. Jesus was sent to the children of Israel, Matthew 15:24, and also to mankind, Matthew 28:19. In the same way, your prophet Muhammad was sent to the Arabs, Surah 42:7, as well as to all people, Surah 34:28. Could anyone reject an ayat or sign from God? Does the Quran in Surah 19:17-21 teach that anyone who rejects a verse of Allah will be cast into the fire like all sinners?
Yes, this is a terrible truth. It is our duty to obey Allah. Jesus is a great prophet in Islam. Our Muslim scholars like Dr. Zakir Naik says, no Muslim is a Muslim if he does not believe in Jesus. The Islamic Education and Research Academy, UK, claims, I'm Muslim. I follow Jesus. Another Muslim organization, Gain Peace USA, also claims, Muslims love Jesus.
That's interesting. What do Muslims believe about Jesus?
According to IRA UK, Jesus is the Messiah, Word of God, Spirit of God and Son of Mary. He called humanity to reconnect their hearts to God, to love, obey and worship Him alone. Through Him, God raised the dead, healed the leper and gave sight to the blind. There will come a day when His kingdom will cover the earth with justice and peace.
Wonderful. Islam has a high view of Jesus. The Quran also commands us to fear God and obey Jesus. In the Quran, Jesus said, "Fear God and obey me." Surah 3:50 and 43:63. Can you tell me how Muslims obey Jesus? Do you know the teachings of Jesus?
I am not sure.
Jesus said in Matthew 5:44, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." He said in Matthew 5:28, "Everyone who looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." In Matthew 6:6, Jesus said, "When you pray, go into your inner room, close your door, and pray to your Father who is in secret."
These are great teachings.
If Muslims believe in Jesus, they must also obey him. However, Muslims obey the Sharia of Muhammad, but not the Sharia of Jesus.
We Muslims are required to obey other prophets like Noah, Hud, Salih, Lot and Shuaib because these prophets also say, "Fear Allah and obey me."
Yes, Allah commanded the people to obey their prophets personally. However, all these prophets are dead except Jesus, whom you believe did not die on the cross and is still alive today in heaven. According to Sahih al-Bukhari Volume IV Hadith 661, whenever a prophet dies, another would take over his place. But if Jesus did not die, no one should be allowed to take over him. We people of the Injil are duty-bound to obey Jesus, who is alive in the heaven.
But the Quran also says that Muslims must obey Allah and the Rasul. Surah 332 and 459.
These verses are talking about obedience to the office and authority of the Rasul, not personal obedience to a person, Prophet Muhammad, because he died in AD 632. In the case of Jesus, obedience is to a person, because Jesus is still alive.
According to the Quran, Jesus was born of a virgin without a father. Surah 347. But Adam is greater. He was without a father and mother.
What about the first monkeys and the first pigs? Were they not also without a father and mother?
Yes.
Do we then say that the first monkeys and pigs were greater than Jesus? No. The miracle of the virgin birth of Jesus is the greatest miracle in the world, because it has never been duplicated. Although prophets performed other great miracles such as raising people from the dead, these miracles will be duplicated on the Day of Judgment. According to the Quran, Jesus is the creator, Al-Khaliq. Jesus created a living bird from a non-living thing, Surah 349 and 5:110. False gods have no power to create, Surah 22:73. Apart from Jesus, Only Allah is Al-Khaliq, Surah 13:16, 6, 102 and 46. Is it true that only God is able to give life?
Yes, that is true. These are taught in Surah 30, 50 and 41, 39.
Jesus was not only able to give life to a non-living thing, he was able to raise the dead, give sight to the blind and heal the lepers.
Yes, Jesus did perform many miracles. But Jesus did them with the permission of Allah, Bismillah. Jesus needed to obtain the permission of Allah before he could perform them. In other words, Jesus was a mere creature, not a creator.
The word Bismillah does not mean that before Jesus performs any miracle, he needs to get the permission of Allah. For example, in Surah 35, 32, some who wrong their own souls, some who follow the middle course, and some who are, by Allah's leave, Bismillah, foremost in good deeds. In the case of a good person, most probably he would ask Allah for permission to perform the good deeds. But what about the sinner? Surely he would not ask God for the permission to sin. The sinner sins as he wishes. Surah 14:25 says, "It, that is the good tree, brings forth its fruit at all times, by the leave, bi'izni, of Allah." There is no need for a good tree to ask for permission to bear good fruit. This is because a good tree would naturally bear good fruit.
I agree.
In Surah 59:5, "Whether ye cut down, O ye Muslim, the tender palm trees or ye left them standing on their roots, it was by leave of God, bi'iznillah." Again, there is no need for special permission from Allah to cut down palm trees or to leave it standing.
In Imam Mufassal, everything occurs by the will of Allah. Therefore, no permission is needed. We believe that everything good or bad is decided by Allah.
If this is the case, Jesus, being the Spirit of Allah, Surah 4, 171, would naturally give life and perform miracles without having to ask for the permission of Allah. Jesus performed them because of who he is, Ruh Allah, Spirit of Allah.
Yes. Jesus performed miracles, but so do Moses and Sulaiman in the Quran.
Moses panicked when Allah changed the rod into a snake. Surah 20:17-21. That showed that Moses was not in control of the miracle he was performing. Allah, not Moses, was the one responsible for the miracle.
What about the miracles of Sulaiman?
According to Ibn Kathir, Sulaiman rode on a flying carpet in Surah 21:81, like the legendary story of Aladdin. Sulaiman also spoke to the ants in Surah 27:18-19. But ants have no ears. Ants communicate through the use of pheromone chemicals. In Surah 3:49, Jesus has omniscient knowledge. "And I declare to you what ye eat and what ye store in your houses." Assuming that there were 1 million Jews in the 1st century AD, Jesus would have had a big job to predict the food the 1 million Jews would be eating daily and what they store in their houses.
I agree. Only a person with the power of omniscience could do this.
Furthermore, Jesus is Kalimatu, that is his word, Surah 4, 171, Kalimatun minhu, word from him, Surah 3:45, and Kalimatun min Allah, word from Allah, Surah 3:49. What do we mean when we call the Quran the word of Allah?
According to Fiqh Arba'ah 2 Article 3, the Quran is the speech of Allah and it is uncreated. This means that the word was with Allah from the beginning. It is also eternal.
Yes. Jesus, as Kalimatun min Allah, word from Allah, is also uncreated and eternal like the Quran. In Surah 43:61, Jesus is the knowledge, ilm, of the hour, sa'ah, of the day of judgment. Yusuf Ali and some translators had wrongly translated ilm li sa'at as sign of the hour. Ilm means knowledge, not sign, which is ayat. Apart from Jesus, who has knowledge of the hour?
The Quran teaches that only Allah has the knowledge of the hour. For example, Surah 41:47.
This makes me think about who Jesus is. He is more than a rasul. According to the Quran, Jesus was sinless. He was a Zaki, pure, sinless, Ghulam, youth, Surah 19:19. Jesus and Mary were protected from Satan, that is protected from sin, Surah 3:36. Furthermore, Jesus is blessed, Mubarak, wheresoever he be, Surah 19:31.
I did not know the Quran taught the sinlessness of Jesus.
I would like to end with a simple question. Are you ready for the second coming of Jesus? In Surah 350 and 43, 63, we are commanded to fear Allah and obey Jesus. Have you obeyed Jesus personally? Did you obey the Sharia of Jesus? You must obey Jesus because Jesus is still alive today. According to Sahih al-Bukhari Volume IV Hadith 661, we must obey a living prophet.
I need someone to help me in my journey to God.